anyway, we sort of mobilized that. There are a couple other things that we added in, and then I'll just shut up and turn it over to folks who have done this more. We also just listened a lot to our volunteers. And a lot of folks said, you know, it's great that we're going door to door. It's great that we're making these phone calls, really reaching out, and we're making impact. I can feel it. I'm tracking my progress to goals. I know how many votes I need. I see this. But why am I not going into the barbershops and the beauty salons? And why am I not going into the church more? I can take these supporter cards and get more people if you let me go to the barbershops on Saturday morning, then I can't going door to door. We said, well, let's try it. So we tested it. We didn't just say, that's a good idea, go do it. We tested it, and then we looked at, if you go door to door, if you go in there, what's the difference in the number of supporters that we were finding, and how many people were we registering to add onto the file. You can tell me if I'm wrong, Carrie, but I have heard that about 27% of all voters in the primary had never voted in a primary of any kind before, something like that. And part of it was through those means where people said, I can bring some new voters in. So it's that listening that we did, which I think is a key lesson for anybody that wants to run for office, because people locally, when they're trained and given goals, can do a lot of things to figure out how to get to those goals. And then obviously putting together a massive GeoTV operation, and I believe a big lesson from what we did was a decentralized in terms of geography, but not decentralized in terms of accountability in a program that worked across the state. We had staging locations in as many neighborhoods as we could possibly run them, with volunteer leaders running that, so that we could, the same people that were going to the doors as neighborhood team leaders were going back there on election day. They knew where they were going. They had a very close staging location to go to. It wasn't just one in Charleston where everybody was funneled to and it was a big massive thing. It was as many as we could have, as close as we could have to the polling locations. And I think that was very, very important in terms of our success. I'll say a couple other things. Just overall, in terms of why I thought we wanted lessons that we could have, is just a belief in volunteerism. And we had a commitment from David Plouffe all the way down that we were going to do this differently, and that we were going to put all of our eggs in the volunteer basket. We were going to do everything we had to do it. But it didn't just happen because we sent out emails. In fact, very few people show up from the emails. It's a good way to let people know what's going on. But they showed up because we called them, we built relationships with them, we trained them, and we believed in their ability to turn out the vote and be the messenger of the campaign. We played everywhere, which isn't always easy when you're thinking about targeting. This is the same lesson I learned in Ohio in the general. This is very different than 2004. We got to show up in Lexington. One of our strongest operations was in Lexington, and it was hard work finding volunteers in Lexington. But we didn't take any voter for granted, and we did everything we could to play in as many places as possible. The training, which I already talked about, is key. Training our staff, and hopefully as folks continue to win, continue to build real organizations here, we'll be training a lot more staff that stay in South Carolina and continue to run for office themselves or run other campaigns, and I think that's important. And then I think the attitude of, you know, we've done this, well, this is the way we did it before, needs to be thrown out of the books. Even when you think about Obama in the primary, just because it's been done that way doesn't mean it worked, and we know that just looking at some of the election results. And so I think we need, as Democrats in South Carolina, to say, okay, if it's been done that way before, what are the results of that? Let's look at those results and see if we can do it better. And unless we're willing to be courageous and say, we can't just listen to the local person who wants the power of being the person that's in charge of the election, or the person that, you know, can turn out the votes in the past, we'll continue to fail. And then the last thing I'll say, and this is from my personal experience, is don't be afraid of outsiders. I think I had a little bit of Southern cred, because I come from a Southern Baptist fundamentalist Christian family, which looks a lot like most voters in the upstate. And I had gone to divinity school, so I had some cred. But still, people were totally skeptical. They didn't know what I was doing. You know, I know how to organize in other states, but I didn't know what was happening down here. Some of the best people that have come through this state, Craig Shermer is one example, who have done a lot for the party here. Believe in making the party better here. Believe in leaving behind legacy. Believe in training other people and it not being about them. So I would say, you know, don't let all outsiders in, but don't be skeptical of outsiders running campaigns or being field directors on campaigns. You obviously have to have the local as well, and we tried to do that with some folks who are in this room back there in the corner, staffers from the community. But don't be afraid of bringing in outsiders and new perspectives, because I think we have a lot to learn, you know, from people all across this country. So that'll be my lessons, and I'm happy to stay around for questions. And thanks for having me.